76. Thought that raw milk was dangerous until our meeting, and I gave them my newest milk report that I rewrote the first 10 days there. I rewrite the report extensively once I found out how things worked in Washington.
How do you know which is loud? How do you know which is
It's
not
not up
all the way up?
It's supposed to be, but I didn't get it up yet.
What's
Pardon?
next? What next now?
Is that your first trip back working with those guys?
Working with? What guys? Oh, yeah. Well, you know, I've done it in Los Angeles and Sacramento, but never on a federal level. I got into some arguments with two offices, who believe that the FDA, shutting a company down when they don't have evidence and stuff like that. I believe it's a bad thing to do. Like the spinach thing was all a bunch of malarkey, and it hurt the spinach business. And there was no real scientific evidence that there was a problem in it. They were all, every field was supplied with different manure, and none of that manure had E. coli in it. Then how all of a sudden this E. coli show up, in the stores. And E. coli, the 015787, as far as my laboratory tests show, is not a natural E. coli, it's a man-made E. coli. So I think it's all part of that, the conspiracy of the agribusiness companies trying to take over everything in Monsanto and Dow Chemical. They want everybody to use chemical fertilizers, and all they have to do is make the natural manure fertilizers seem dangerous, and then guess what's outlawed? Manure as fertilizer, and then what's left?
Chemicals.
Dow and Monsanto's chemicals, the Gulf and Western's chemicals. So that's where it's headed. And of course I put that in the report. And so I was just letting them have it from all sides. And show them that the raw milk was not a problem. Ron Paul's office called me on Wednesday and said, "We're ready to give your bill. Are you still interested?" And I said, "Sure."
Who is that?
Ron Paul. Ron Paul is a congressman from Texas. He's one of the ones running for president.
Just willing to step out and say that
He's an MD. So having an MD submitting this bill is perfect. But out of all the people we got to send emails in and faxes when I asked, only 550 people did it. That's nothing. I've got 2,300 people on my email list, and half of those people, half of the 550, were from my email list. So 250 from my 2,300. It's not a good average. People are going to have to do something. I've spent a lot of time fighting this thing and getting it through, and then I also spent something like $20,000 on printing. And the volunteers and I, we found out 10 agricultural offices and health department offices in every state. We sent them a copy, and I downloaded the FDA's logo and put it on the outside of the, it said very little letters, response to FDA's stance on raw milk, and then the FDA logo. So it looks like it was coming from the FDA going to these health departments, And on the back, right to choose healthy food is up there. So they couldn't get me, for doing fraud or anything. But and also I had a fact sheet on there, facts about raw milk and how it's not dangerous, and how over 50 universities had used raw milk and found it favorable. So that's bullets there, and it's got FDA logo up the top, response to the stance on raw milk of FDA. So that's the way we did it, just to make sure that the stuff got opened and at least scrutinized to a little bit, to an extent. So the Ron Paul said he's going to issue the bill. I rewrote the bill. I wrote the bills. I looked at some of the other bills that he had written in his style. So I wrote 2 proposals, bill proposals, and when that gets submitted, we need you to respond. You know, need you to respond and make sure. Yes. It won't be fax now. I spent $15,000 on a company that, you know, all you do is go to the website and click. So it'll be that easy. Yep, it's all done for. All you go do is, when you first go in there, you have to put your name and address and all of that. And if you want your name saved and all your information, you just click Save. Each time, if you're going to respond about the raw milk when I ask, and you don't want to leave it in, you're going to have to put your name and address each time. You know. So it goes to the right representatives and senators. Yes.
I noticed that you didn't have, I spent a lot of time in Utah, and I noticed you didn't have anybody from the representatives from Utah. It looked like almost every other state.
Well, that was just your agricultural committees.
So that's just the people that are.
That was just the agriculture, yeah, because the Farm Bill was going through, and the Farm Bill went through. Terrible Farm Bill. They were telling everybody, oh, it's for the little farmer. They gave more subsidies for the big agribusiness is all they did. So the little farmer didn't get anything. So now the Senate's doing their Farm Bill. But Ron Paul is a representative, so he's going to put it in a different bill. Also asked them to pass a law that forces the FDA that they cannot, you know, go to the media and say, oh, we pulled this company's product because that's the problem, unless they have good scientific solid evidence to prove it is. You know, so they just can't go shooting from the hip. So I had some arguments with some of the offices about that. So that's it. I'm back. Thank you. Okay, we're going to start around. We've got a lot of people here today. So do you have a question?
I do.
All right.
I do. Let's go with developing excessive phlegm. That's what I've experienced now. The last 6 to 8 weeks is excessive phlegm, and just it's not terribly overwhelming, but just wondering what that's from. Sometimes my mind thinks that it could be an allergy or a first line defense mechanism kicking in.
It's your brain's toxic.
Oh, good.
Remember, most
coming out. Most of
the toxins that are in the brain come out the gums, the mouth, the tongue, and the sinuses.
The eyes.
Sometimes the eyes. Some people, it's heavily the eyes, and the ears also sometimes. And when that comes out, the mucus has to surround that poison as soon as it hits the mucous membranes, so it doesn't get absorbed into the mucous membranes and damage the mucous membranes. They're so toxic. The brain is 60% fat. So if somebody calls you a fathead, you say thank you. That fat is very important. That's where poisons rest, and the body prevents the toxins from damaging the system. Is in fat. So fat is very important, and when the body starts detoxifying, it'll dump it out these areas. Now, when it dumps it out, it usually releases the fat molecule, and it'll pass into the gum. And there's a transition that happens there. The body starts using calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, and potassium to bind with that poison and cause plaque. Some people get plaque on their tongue and plaque on their teeth. Now, if it isn't a good plaque, and the plaque, like your calcium would be cauterized from cooked foods. That plaque is not going to be a good alkaline because you cauterize it. It's solid. It's not it's porous and is not malleable. It's not absorptive anymore. So when you build a plaque with cooked foods, it doesn't prevent mercury, if it's coming from the brain, or thallium from burning the dentine. So it'll eat through that, it'll work its way through that plaque, and it damages the dentine, and then you have a cavity, and then bacteria comes to eat the damaged dentine or tubule tissue. So the bacteria never causes the decay, the dental caries. It's the heavy metals leaving the brain which damages the dentine. So it's always a good idea to make sure that the plaque never sits on your teeth for more than 3 days, because it will eat through it. On this diet, it's very unlikely, if you've been on the diet for about 5 or 6 years, that'll happen, even if you leave it on for 5 or 6 weeks. But still, it's a good idea to clean it, so because even the dentine, those cells breathe.
What do you use to clean the mouth with the plaque?
Fermented coconut cream is the best way to dissolve plaque. And then, of course, you want to polish your teeth at the same time and whiten them. You use, like the Terramin light clay in conjunction with the fermented coconut cream, and that'll do it.
Just dilute it and just put it on the brush or something?
Yeah.
Leave it in the mouth for 10 minutes before.
You don't have to. You can. Definitely. It's fine. You can also take... Pardon?
It won't dissolve dentine, the dental...
Coconut cream won't eat through human tissue.
He said phlegm, though. Is that from up here or lung?
No, it's coming down.
That happens.
No, I figured it was because I had a major 3-week sinus detox. It was incredible, blood and black, and it was fun. I loved it. It was like coming out. But now it's just a residual effect of the earthquake.
But you still have a dumping.
Yeah, sure.
It'll probably... Usually, you're only... it's a few molecules at a time when it's mercury, because it's so dangerous. Thallium's the same way. Sometimes rusting iron or iodine can cause the same type of reaction. So once the heavy dump is there, to get all of that to discharge as you're developing enough mucus to hold it and surround it, because most people will swallow it, and the body knows you're going to swallow it, so it has to have the right mucus formation before it does that. So then you'll have nasal drip, you'll have a lot of thick mucus that will carry it out. I prefer you expectorate it, but some people, Chinese do that. The Chinese go around spitting all the time. In fact, there's an ordinance where they're not allowed to do it during the Olympics thing. Yeah. There's a new ordinance where the Chinese are not allowed to spit on the street. So for just that period of time of the Olympics.
So that was the experience. And just to add to what you were saying, was that I got all my teeth were loose and very painful. I felt where the Novocaines were going in for dental work.
Yeah.
There was a whole bunch of things. I felt like I had a baseball in my cheek all through here. So I'm just letting you know that that's what occurred.
Yeah. So you had a lot of dumping.
And I just welcomed it. It just was
How long
a
were you
blast.
on the diet?
Well, I've been doing a lot of different things, and when that started, I actually was like, I need to move this into a better game, and that's when I was turned on to the diet.
Oh, good.
To move through it even better. I just started drinking a lot of the moisturizing, the moisturizing liquid. Yeah.
Moisturizing is for women.
Lubrication for the men. That's right. Well, I had to get in touch with my female side. So I drank plenty of that.
Do you have a question?
Yes. With all the lax rules for organic foods and so forth, how can one be sure that the plant food that we're consuming is safe?
You can't. If you want to do that, you would have to get a group of people together, or be your own person to go out and call the companies, visit the fields, and that's the only way you'll know for sure. Or if you're hyperactive like I am, as soon as I put something in my mouth, I know it's chemically processed or not. Because there's a problem with it.
Hyperactivity from it.
Pardon?
Hypersensitive, you mean?
Hypersensitive, yeah. And anything that Whole Foods sells, you can better believe they're liars. When they first came on the scene and bought at Mrs. Gooch's, I called them about their all-natural beef. And I said, what do you feed your cows? Oh, we don't know. You have to call the department that handles that. So I called their manager who managed the growers, beef growers, and he said, well, it's individual, but most of them feed them, some grain and grass and hay and alfalfa, the regular stuff, and then they get about 15% bakery waste. I said, hello, 15 cents per bakery waste? Yeah, we got a good deal on stale donuts. So they feed them stale donuts. So I called Gucci's back, their head office, and I said, you need to stop calling, your beef all natural. And he said, why? And I said, your beef are being fed 15% bakery waste, stale donuts. Well, those are made from grain. That's natural for a cow. I said, when do you know the cows go around and boil their grains in oil and then eat them? I said, it's not natural. Well, as long as the FDA allows us to call it natural because it's made from grain, we will call it natural. And that's their attitude. They're out for the money because they know there's lots of money in health food. But if you go into any of their stores, you will see maybe there's 2% organic produce. Everything else is conventional. So they're just liars. They're just holding up and they say go organic, go organic. It's just a mouthpiece. It's just to lure you in. And now they bought up Wild Oats. That isn't good for us. And so what we've done in Los Angeles, we made connections with Amish farmers, and we truck all of our food in every week.
So we get that at the co-op, we get it from the same source.
Yeah.
So you get celery and everything, celery from them too over there?
No, James has his sources because he used to be in the produce business.
So he gets celery as well?
Yeah, get organic celery and all of that. So he knows where to get that. He knows how to find the organic stuff. So he's one of those people who can handle that and is good with that.
That's right.
And so we're taken care of, up there in Los Angeles. Pardon?
Yeah.
What about us in San Diego?
You need somebody to champion it like James.
We have it, the co-op.
Yeah.
We have everything that James has available, we have available.
So you have celery and all
Yeah,
that?
so we can get everything that James
He's
has.
never put that on a list,
Yeah.
that's why I never knew.
Got a whole big produce section. You walk in the courtyard here.
Because I've never seen it on a list.
Well, most of those are perishable, so we haven't bothered with it, but we can put it on the list.
Oh, cool. That's great.
Okay, question.
I'm going to go back to this one, and it's one you've answered many times. It's about cholesterol. Because a lot of people keep still asking this question. I want this deeper clarification because it's hard to answer it correctly. Now, when we go on the diet, our cholesterol goes up. I know that. Okay. And I remember you saying...
Well, it depends upon the person.
Most people.
Yeah.
A lot of people. And I think you said that it's bringing out old cholesterol in the body and old fats and old things. However, if after 4 years it's still going up, and you get up to high up near 400, 380, 400, and some people get 420 and more, and someone gets a blockage as well in their heart, they get it checked and they've got a 80% blockage or 90% blockage in their heart arteries. And of course the doctors, we know what they'll say, well, it's very dangerous, you're going to die. Blah, 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 unless we do something. Tell me, how can a person at that stage lower their cholesterol if they want to while they're on the diet? So they say, well, yeah, I feel uncomfortable, I'd like to see if I could lower the cholesterol. What would one do on this diet to lower their cholesterol?
Coconut cream will lower it very rapidly.
How much?
Probably, about 5 tablespoons a day. They just spread it out throughout the day.
Would that be replacing other creams? Or
No,
just include it?
even just include that
Okay.
in it. But the problem is with those people who have high cholesterol, they're usually and who have blockages, they're given low blood pressure medicine.
No, but some who haven't even been on low blood pressure.
I know, but let me tell you, I'm just going to
Yeah.
clear that with
Okay.
it. Low blood pressure is a bad thing when somebody's got congestive arteries. You need the high blood pressure to push those veins open, those arteries, those capillaries, or else you're going to have clots. There's a test that came out of, I think there was something like a 10-year study with 47,000 people, 47,000 people, came out of Britain. It was released in December. It showed that people who had 160 to 170 blood pressure, the assaulting rate, had no heart attacks. Those that were 110 to 120 had all the heart attacks. People who are going to have heart attacks are going to have it if they're lowering their cholesterol levels and lowering their blood pressure. The body has high blood pressure for a reason. And if you're eating lots of vegetable oils which crystallize and harden in the human body, you are going to have blockages. You have to have high blood pressure. So everybody who's on a SAD diet, the standard American diet, should have high blood pressure over the age of 50 years old. Everybody should. And if they don't, they're likely to have heart attacks anytime.
How do you raise the blood pressure if it's low?
Yeah, you can use garlic. Garlic, usually, for me, garlic will, they say garlic will lower it if it's too high, but it will also raise it if it's too low.
It's an adaptogen.
For me, it always raises it, never lowers it.
But you walk in a doctor's office and they want to throw you in a hospital right away.
That's the pharmaceutical industry wanting to make money off of you.
But they don't know that.
No, the doctors don't know it because they're stupid. I mean, they're ignorant.
So it's like,
Yeah, they're all educated about pharmaceutical. Yeah, all of the procedure manuals for doctors are written by the pharmaceutical companies. Merck's is this thick. And what do you think they're interested in? Selling drugs. So they're going to mainly put, you take this drug, you take that drug for this situation, and that's what the doctors are taught. So they don't know any better. Okay. Now the cholesterol.
Are you saying that pretty much most of the time low blood pressure is bad? I had like 98 over. I can't remember what. Very low.
Well, it depends. If you have blocked arteries, if you have congestive anything, you want high blood pressure, then your blood pressure is too low. Now, when I became a vegetarian, mine dropped way down to, it was like 50 over 90. And my pulse rate went down to about 52. And I had congestive everything. I had angina from all the mercury from a vaccine that went to my heart, and then my heart pulled in a lot of cholesterol to bind with the fat. So it caused congestion in my heart and my left carotid artery. So having low blood pressure was not a good thing. So I started having angina again at the end of my vegetarian period. And as soon as I started eating raw meat, blood pressure and everything went up again, and I was fine. So if you're fatigued, if you don't have a lot of energy, and your blood pressure's low, you may need to get it up. Okay. Now the cholesterol, I've got a Hall of Fame basketball player. His cholesterol is 675. Period. It stays at 675, and he doesn't have a frickin' problem. I've got I used to have. She's no longer competes, but I had a Olympic gymnast, and she had 324. Before she came to me, it was 324, and she would get sick every 6 weeks, and they couldn't get her cholesterol level down. When she went on the cholesterol medication, she would get so sick she couldn't work out. So every 6 weeks she was going into the hospital. So I put her on the diet and kept her cholesterol level at 324, and she won a few medals. So you just have to ignore this cholesterol nonsense.
It's good. I mean, you've given them more clarification.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Okay.
It makes it much easier. But if you're going to try and explain or hear the doctor and know, it can be frightening for some families who've got a husband with 7 what are those things they put in your stints, and then you've been told that you've got a blockage in your heart and your cholesterol is 420. You are going to end up like your husband.
Well, if their cholesterol is made from vegetable oils, hydrogenated vegetable oils, that's plastic.
So that would be.
So you wanna get the cholesterol down if it's that, but if you're on good fats, you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
Now, even I still have a blocked carotid artery that's blocked by about 50%, and I'll eat it's slowly starting to disintegrate. The more coconut cream I eat, the smaller it gets. But I don't push it because I like my fats. I'll eat about at least a stick of butter a day, which is 8 tablespoons. I have at least a half a cup of raw cream a day, not counting the cream that's in the milk. I drink from 2 to 2.5 quarts of milk a day. And I have all my meat with lots of fat in it. And I have my coconut cream. Sometimes I'll have avocado. So I eat tremendous amounts of fat. And I'm fat. Just don't look at me. I'm 24% body fat, which is 2% more than I was the last time I was here. Now, 24% body fat. That's pretty good, doesn't it? I mean, 24%. I've got a little bit here. I'm up to a 37-inch waist again from a 30 last year at this time. So I go, 7 inches to 8 inches expansion. I've got 3 wardrobes to fit that I need. But when I broke my leg pretty badly in a motorcycle accident in Thailand in March, beginning of March, and I lost a lot of weight during that time, and I started not feeling as well, and my leg wasn't healing as quickly as I wanted to. I thought that I should be walking in 4 weeks instead of 6. So, and the doctor said I'd never walk again unless I had surgery. And I said, listen, if I'm not walking in 6 weeks, I'll be back and use your help. And he went, like I was a wacko. So I was walking in 6 weeks, but I wanted to be walking sooner without crutches than that. But I'm still having, I'm still favoring this knee. It's not completely well. It ripped the tendons off of both sides of the knee. So it's still a healing process. The more weight I gain, even though it's more pressure on that knee, the quicker it heals. And the tibia bone was broken off to the left side of or the inside of the knee, and it split in two. And it had an opening in the back this big, and they wanted to go in and push it together and then pin it. And then the tibia at the top of it is like this, and the femur sits on top of that. And the accident was so bad that it broke the top of the tibia and jammed up into the femur. So they wanted to go and clean that out. They said I'd never walk again if that weren't clean. I didn't have it clean, and I'm walking. I'm walking fine. I don't have any stabbing pain there. I can't straighten my leg completely yet, and that could be because the body still has to dissolve that piece of bone that's stuck up in there. Or it could be that there's just so much scar tissue from the break right now until it's mended, then it will go away. So that could be up to 3 years, but I don't like to wait. So I gained all this weight again so I could move faster through it. So, but I don't look like I'm fat because fat molecules, when they're raw, are very tiny. When you cook a fat, it swells 10 to 50 times its normal size. So when you're 24% body fat, you may look quite large. If you're probably about 25 to 26% body fat, Scott, and I'm not far behind you yet. I don't look that big because I've had raw fats in my body since 1972. So I don't, even in my bones, I don't have much of the old fat built into them.
When I met you, I didn't even have 14.
I know. You were really sick.
I was very sick. And the more fat I've gained, the less pain I've had.
Exactly. That's the whole point. Because the fat, the cholesterols, your body makes 60 varieties of cholesterols. A third of them lubricate the body, a third cleanse the body, and a third give you the strongest fuel that you can have. And you can get 2.5 times more energy with fat than you can with carbohydrate or protein.
With the cholesterol, they said the ratio between the
The pharmaceutical got caught. Pharmaceutical industry got caught on the cholesterol issue. So they had to come out and say, oh, well, now we've proved that there's a good cholesterol and a bad cholesterol. It's all garbage. Doesn't make any difference. Doesn't make any difference. That ratio, LDL to HDL, doesn't mean a thing as long as they're good fat. And if you get the book, The Cholesterol Myth, he scientifically goes into the details. And that's the book you should read. The Cholesterol Myth. I've quoted the book in here, or I've referenced it at the bottom in the footnotes. So.
Just getting back to you, decide not to have surgery. Do you think that in most cases you would go without surgery, that the body can heal itself?
Absolutely. I went to the hospital. I went to the hospital because I was in such severe pain, and on the knee here, you've got a rope. You've got a rope of pants are too tight. That fat. So you've got a rope tendon here on either side. This one ripped from here and buckled up here. This one ripped from here and buckled up here. And it looked like my knee was dislocated because of that. So I went to the hospital to just have them put my leg back in place because it was, 10 o'clock at night, and I couldn't find a chiropractor in Thailand. So I went there, and they wouldn't touch it because it freaked them out the way the knee looked. So I agreed to have 2 x-rays, one from the side, one from the top. Found out that the broken, in the The piece from the tibia was jammed up into the femur, and could see the damage. And I said, "Oh, it's in place. I don't need anything." Because they wanted to cut. When they would do a surgery like that, they would have cut me from here all the way up to here, and opened up the leg to do that work. Now think about that. I would have to repair that, all the muscle they'd cut into, the bone they'd have to open up, scrape in there, everything that they would do. Think how long that would take to me to repair that. It would take me less time to repair the damage that was naturally done in the break.
So are you saying that these tendons that ping and bust up, you reckon they will grow back?
They already grew back. I watched them grow back. My tendons were grown back in a week.
So even if they're totally detached?
They were completely detached.
They were detached from...
This knot here, I just watched them daily. And the knot just got smaller and just moved like that. And they were attached in a week. The pain wasn't gone in a week.
But
that pain still is a little bit, where they were ripped, that pain's still slightly there.
But Aajonus, that wouldn't have happened to a person on an ordinary diet.
Well, no, probably wouldn't have. Well, if they'd start eating a good diet for their healing, it would have probably would happen. Slower, probably in 3 times the time, but still would have happened.
Yeah.
How does it grow back?
Pardon? I don't take supplements. None. Well, I take honey to accelerate it.
So when you got hurt and all you have so much chronic pain and everything, what do you do for the pain?
I just swam in the bathtub.
Really? Yeah. Well, I mean, like when you initially did it, you said you went to the hospital, so much pain. So they're saying we want to give you something, and you just tell them no.
Oh, I won't. They didn't even offer me anything because I didn't even ask for it. I just suffer the pain. I did honey and butter, banana and butter, just to get rid of the pain.
Banana and honey, what does that do?
Pardon?
Banana and honey, what does that do?
The banana and butter, banana and butter, honey and butter, helps you remove pain.
Along with just giving me bee pollen, eggs, and cheese.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, your pain is a different kind, yeah. But I ate what I had. And I drank lots of raw milk while I was there to help mend the bones. And after 3 weeks, or it was a little less than 3 weeks, I was in a hotel right across from the ocean, about probably was 200 feet to get to the ocean. So I took my crutches and walked over into the ocean, and I got up to about this level right here, so my body was pretty buoyant. Then I would walk an hour and a half morning and night to exercise the leg, so it would have its movement, not keloid up in that big break in the tibia. So that's what I did, and I dealt with the pain. And because when I laid the motorcycle down on the pavement, I bruised my sciatica, so I could only sleep on the left side. And man, you're laying there 6.5 weeks. It was just pretty painful. So I was in a bathtub probably 6 hours a day, 2 hours at a time, sometimes a little longer. And that would, again, I've got coconut cream in there and sea salt, makes the body more buoyant, so there's no pressure on that back side. And also that heat allowed my leg to relax and would take the pain away. And also I had hired 2 Thai women to take care of me, and they would take cold refrigerated coconut cream, because it was like 60 cents a liter there, 70 cents a liter, So I buy it by the pounds, by a couple liters every day, and put that in my bath, about 2 cups of my bath, and then they would take a cold clop of it, and just rub it on that knee and all the way down the leg, because I had ripped all the skin off of the whole side, scraped some of the bone off when it took everything off, scraped some of the bone off of here, scraped some of the bone off of here. So,
You have no scarring?
well, I've got a tiny bit of scarring right here, and then you can see the discoloration. But
You see when you stand up that you won't put all your weight on that foot.
not yet. It's not completely straight. It won't straight.
No, but your hip also. Stand on the other foot.
Yeah.
Are you purposely doing that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because if I put it on, I mean, I can put the weight on here. This is, I'm just not used to putting it on yet. I'm used to favoring it. No. I'm just so used to favoring it. I guess I should stand and dance on it, you know.
You should know.
Well, you're a great walking human experiment.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
scientific
Yeah.
experiment.
I don't think
Trying
he's
to
trying to do
prove
everything
all
for us, though.
Yeah, but the average person wouldn't be able to do that. You wouldn't have those resources and materials to do that.
That's why he's telling us, so he would.
No, the whole object
And
of
then
being
the
on the
doctors
diet
would
with the
carry
support
it.
group is so you call him.
Yeah,
except
so
when
you
you're
can do
badly
it.
injured. You even talked to me when you were badly injured.
Oh,
same
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I was going through something major, and I felt bad calling him after I found out what was wrong.
See, what happens here is everyone, when they have a pain, even people on this diet, say, I want to take something for the pain. And I said, what do you mean you want to take something for the pain? Can't you just go through a little bit of pain? You know, it's just, I'm not used to this.
Right.
I've never had pain things in my
It's the culture,
house,
though,
ever.
Barbara.
Yeah, it's
It's
culture.
the culture.
The pharmaceutical industry wants
Yeah,
you to take
You
their
know,
pain
this
medication.
culture doctrinates children when they're 2
Yeah.
and 3 or before, and children just go along with it. I need this.
Doesn't the pain, I mean, the pain gets up there, but because you've been through it so many times,
Yeah,
you understand the pain. So you have a
Yeah.
friendship with it rather than it's an enemy.
I will never call pain or fun.
No?
I've
I don't
never
know,
reached that level.
No.
Relationship.
I have a relationship with it. I tolerate it.
You respect it.
It lets me know whether I'm abusing the leg or something, you know. It's healing. If I'm
Had a lot
putting
of
too
dental
much
work.
weight on it, or
Had a lot of dental work done this year, and the office can't believe I will not take anything.
Same
Yeah.
I
here.
will not.
I
They
never
call
took
me
a
the
lot of it.
freak of the. How can you do that? You're the only one in our
Yeah.
whole practice that doesn't take Novocaine. Don't you work with it?
I
I'll just
know.
go through the few minutes of pain.
I had a tooth back here that had been capped in a root canal back in '78, and it had been giving me trouble over about a 10-year period, but not bad. And then all of a sudden, it just got so loose and it wasn't leaving the body. So I went to Dr. Breton in Mexico, and I said, I want you to pull it. He says, this time you want Novocaine, don't you? And I said, no. Then he said, you know how we do it, don't you? And I said, no. I never had an extraction before awake, in an awake state. So he brought out this, looked like, it looked like a corkscrew with a piece of steel that comes down and then a circle, and it's got blades, it's honed, like a blade, so they've got it on this side, so it goes in and they twist it like this to cut all the gum away from the tooth, and then they yank.
It's like an apple core.
Yeah, right. Just like what it is. So I said, oh, well, go ahead and do that. And he said, wait a minute. Do you want me to pull this and you're not going to have any Novocaine? I said, listen, you push it in there, you give me a few seconds to calm down from that laceration. It'll take maybe 15, 30 seconds, to ease that pain. Then you twist it around and pull, all in one like that. And he said, okay, all right. So he did it, and it was out and gone, and that was it. It was like 2 minutes of pain, But just think, if you have Novocaine, you're going to have a detoxification, have swelling like he had eventually sometime in your life, and that's going to go on for weeks. I'll take 2 minutes of pain any day, and maybe some throbbing for 24 hours rather than 6, 7, 8, 10, 30 weeks of detoxification of the Novocaine or Xylocaine.
What's the symptoms of the anesthetic? Is it right away? What's the symptoms of detoxing anesthetic?
Well, it usually causes gum swelling, and it'll cause hardening around the general area. All the teeth will become loose. Sometimes you'll have pus, sometimes you won't. Pardon?
What about nitrous?
No, nitrous will affect the brain because there are heavy metals in nitrous. Yeah.
Several doctors do acupuncture today, so you can have it done.
Yeah. And some do hypnosis. There are other ways. I self-hypnotize myself when I do it.
Do you have a higher pain tolerance because of your diet or anything like that?
I don't think so. I just, I try to put myself in a hypnotic state, a very relaxed state, and leave the pain.
It's a very focused person.
Okay, we're going to have to move through or we're going to be very late.
Having to do with this high blood pressure, you go ahead and say, well, it's all right to have high blood pressure because you need it because you have blocked arteries, and then a doctor comes and says, well, if you do that, you're going to have a stroke. You're going to have a blood vessel in the brain blow up
and what evidence do they have of that?
They don't. Well, I'm not saying they do, but that's what.
Well, I would. If someone said that to me, I said, what evidence do you have that the circulatory system in my brain will break and will rip from it? What kind of tissue would you see that I have? What tests can you do? And let me tell you, they'll just stand there and babble for a few minutes.
Well, this is
and they won't.
A 96-year-old, my mother, for example. She's on blood pressure medicine. I try to take her off of that, and the doctor says, no. If you take her off of it, she's gonna. That's the manufacturing of the doctors that work for the pharmaceutical industry. They have a way to keep you on medication, but say, prove it to me. Prove it to me. They have no way to prove. No, she's not on the diet.
Doesn't make any difference.
Can I have another quick question? Salmon from Chile.
Salmon
from Chile, which is, pardon me?
It's all being checked out.
Which is the salmon's not indigenous to that area, so they're farming salmon. I mean, they're producing so much. Walmart's buying all of their salmon and selling it for $4.84 a pound.
Not actually farming. No.
They're not farming it; they're just harvesting it.
Yes.
Where are they harvesting it?
It's farmed.
I'll tell you what happens. Is they have to take the spawn, the eggs, and they grow them to fingerlings, which are between 2 and 4 inches. They release them at the mouth of the river. They go out to sea until they're fully grown, and then they come back up the river. And they've eaten the krill because they're orange. You can see the difference. He showed me the difference between all farmed salmon and one that has come from what they call it harvesting.
Right.
And it's a different colour. And so, this one they're harvesting from the sea. It starts off as, a farmed egg which grows 2 to 4 inches. Right? So he said the only salmon that we can buy in this country that's not done that way is from Alaska. And it has a short life. All the rest has been farmed at the beginning and then sent to sea and harvested. All the wild caught. It's pretty well that way.
Well, I don't know what they feed the younglings before they release them.
I know, but still that's what it all is unless you get it from Alaska.
Or Washington.
No, that's done that way too.
So is that okay?
I would eat it.
That's what I wanted to know. That was my question.
I eat ocean wild caught.
doesn't matter if it's molasses or anything.
Doesn't matter as long as it's ocean wild caught, not in a lake.
This is caught in the ocean.
This is supposedly ocean wild caught after they've gone out to the ocean from farms.
Yeah, but you're talking about farming at that life. Its RNA and DNA, its genes are already produced. They're going to reproduce from whatever they were fed. So I would have to know what they're fed.
Well,
if they grow it like the Chinese and the not the Cambodians because they're terrible, but the Thais and the Myanmars, the Burmese, they throw fish scraps in for the fish to eat. Now in Cambodia, they're buying all this garbage from these feeding companies, fish feeding companies. So I wouldn't get anything from Cambodia. But in Thailand, they're throwing them fish remains. In areas in Vietnam, the same way. They're feeding them fish scraps that have not been processed. They're feeding them naturally what they would eat. So I would buy fish, and I do buy farmed fish there when I know what they're fed. But here, every farmed fish is fed stuff processed by the food industry like Purina.
And they die.
And they're dyed. They put dyes because they're gray.
Because that's the one.
Gray, ugly, creatures. No question? Okay. Do you have a question?
I can't eat at anyone fishing. I can't have too much meat and fat. So whilst I'm still eating avocado every day, a little bit of cream and butter, honey, the moisturising thing. Initially, I put on extra weight and held it, but I'm noticing at the moment, the last several months, that I'm not putting on weight. The question is, what is happening to the system while still having bits of the protein, the fat, and everything on the tiny diet, but I'm not. I don't know how to ask the question.
Well, I know what you're getting at. Yeah. Why you can't put on the weight and what's happening in your body?
I'm not worried about putting on the weight. I'm thinking, is there still regeneration going on? Is there still protection going on?
Well, you don't have a lot of excess fat, but you have some.
Well,
I can see that some of your weight is water weight. So you're drinking too much water, for one thing. That's going to damage your digestive abilities. You're not going to be able to eat much food. Because if you damage your digestive abilities, you're not going to be able to eat and digest. So you're not going to be hungry for it. It's going to be difficult to eat. So you have to stop water. Or only drink maybe 4 ounces a day maximum.
What about if I'm thirsty?
You're not thirsty, you got a dry mouth. You take coconut cream, 6 to 8 parts coconut cream, 1 part honey. You put it on your lips, you put it on your tongue, you keep moisture there. Remember, the brain has more poisons than anywhere else in the body except for the bone marrow. And those poisons dump out the mouth. Everybody's face wrinkles first in age. Why? Because of the amount of poisons that are leaving the brain and going out the mouth. The gums, the tongue, and the salivary glands. Causes all this dryness. The only way you can replenish that is to put fat on your tongue, in your mouth, and have it frequent. Coconut cream seems to work quickest. And therefore your brain can hold more fat. It doesn't have to give up all of it as it comes out here because you will have it on your lips and around. When you get dry mouth, that is not thirst for water. That's thirst for fat.
another quick question. In taking eggs with lemon juice, is that okay?
My neighbors do it now too.
I just love
I never heard of it.
I love
She
the
does
I love
that?
Yeah,
the
there's
taste.
a lot.
It's a really
Yeah.
good taste.
Well, it's just convenient, and sometimes I'll take a little bit of the honey butter mix straight after instead of mixing it together because of the time. But when I'm at the end of the day at school, I'll just put lemon juice.
Well, the problem with that is you're going to lose weight from it. When you eat eggs in the first place, eggs alone will cause tremendous weight loss.
Just by mistake.
It'll also increase digestion. You know, let's say you've eaten a big meal and you're not digesting well that day. You start sucking eggs or doing them Rocky style and drinking them down. Eggs alone, not with anything else, you will start digesting rapidly. That food will move through quickly, much more quickly. Also, though, the result is sometimes you start losing weight because it'll start ripping fats out of the body and start burning them or utilizing them as fuel and energy. So having, you know, if you're going to do that, and the lemon juice in it will just make sure it's all used as fuel rather than to help reconstitute cells that are alive that need protein and fat once you put the lemon with it. Now, the reason I call the lubrication moisturizing formula, or moisturizing lubrication formula, it has a little bit of lemon in it that will react with the butter. Or if you're using cream, depending upon your body. That is not absorbed into the egg. So it won't turn it into an energy source. It'll turn into a lubrication for the whole body.
But if you are wanting energy, it's good to have it with the lemon juice if you're feeling like fatigue at the end of the day.
Either that or just an egg alone is fine. You're just going to burn it fast. It's going to burn a lot faster. You're going to need more eggs if you're eating it with lemon. Now, let's say I've got a long day like when in Washington, D.C. I mainly lived on milk and fish and eggs. And when I was getting like 2.5 hours sleep a night. And anytime I started getting fatigued, I'd down an egg. Or only 4 ounces of milk. Never eat enough to get tired. Because I couldn't afford to be tired. Didn't have time.
You take excessive, 4 ounces.
I would have the egg for 1/2 hour to 45 minutes. Next time I'd have a half a cup of milk.
1 egg?
1 egg. Unless I was really hungry.
No.
And then I would eat 2 at a time.
You can take the egg every half hour.
Half hour to 40 minutes. 45 minutes.
So even if you're thirsty, you could take an egg instead of liquid.
Just remember, eggs will make you drier in the mouth. So you have to have your coconut cream and honey.
It used to make me taste tomatoes.
For moisture, yeah. But that was high in sodium. You needed a lot of sodium. Okay, do you have a question? No? Do you have?
Why didn't, but I've got one from my mum. She wants bloody honest woman.
Okay, Barbara.
Can't be anything but honest, that woman.
Well, just in case, I do come up with a question, honest.
Well, don't you ask me.
DMSO. What?
DMSO is a chemical. It's a chemical. It's not a food. It doesn't grow. It's mined. It's a chemical. Okay?
It comes from wood pulp.
Yep. It's mined from, and it has to be highly processed, chemically processed. They have to use kerosene-based solvents to extract it. Oh, and let me tell you, the pharmaceutical industry and chemical industry has this little thing. Oh, well, we do this to it. We put cellulose in it, and that takes it from being a kerosene dangerous thing into being food compatible. So then you buy something like DMSO or vitamin E or anything like that that's processed, and they tell you it's 100% natural. It is an absolute lie, a fabrication. But usually your supplement manufacturers don't know that, because they go to a chemical company and say, this is what we need, this is what we want. And because you don't know the chemistry, you don't know how they're doing it, you're taking their word for it. And let me tell you, they're out for the money.
But they don't agree with DMSO. It's illegal to sell DMSO by the FDA. They don't like it. So I just thought there must be something good about it if they don't like it. That's why the question.
Yeah, it doesn't make any difference.
It still is no good.
Yeah.
Does that mean navigation?
As long as the pharmaceuticals aren't industry, the ones that fund the FDA, as long as it's not suiting their pockets, then the FDA is going to be against it. Do you have a question?
Well, before I ask my question, did you ever have Merv Griffith as a client?
No.
No. Okay. Because I've worked with him in other holistic health stuff, and I know he was always interested, but he never came to you. I've been having a lot of lung stuff, and it seems like the longer I'm on the diet, things go in reverse. So it's like I feel asthma coming back I haven't had for years, or a lot of fun coming up, stuff I had when I was a child. Is that possible? You reverse? How do you go back and...
Well, it has nothing to do with the diet.
It doesn't.
Everybody gets... Anytime you've had a problem in your life, a disease or a condition, you've never healed it properly.
Yes.
So as you get older, the body gets weak in those areas, has to re-clean it and try to rebuild it. And it doesn't work very well.
It's in the same spot that I was in the hospital for when I was a child. Right.
And I said it in my book, I said, every problem you've ever had in your life is you're going to be revisited with 2 or 3 times.
I hope I don't get any older. I hope you do get older. But as you know, in my phone calls, it's really so painful.
Yeah.
You don't want to.
Well, you got to stop going off the diet.
Well, I feel like going off the diet kind of gives me a relief on the detox. Not?
Well, it just postpones it.
It postpones it, right?
Postpones it, but makes the condition worse because you're in a detoxification.
Yeah.
So the foods you're putting in it will stop the cleaning, but also start rebuilding the area. And if it's not rebuilding with good stuff, it's going to revisit you just as bad. And when I go through something, I don't do that. So the next time it revisits me, it's much milder. Then the next time it doesn't even bother me, and then I never have it again.
One has to go through the 5.
Yeah, but 5 years? How many years?
Well, how many years did you eat crap?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the worst for me is all the pharmaceuticals I've been around.
Yep.
I mean,
You've inhaled them, you've taken them through your hands, you've breathed them.
And having worked for Eli Lilly for 8 years, I'll tell you, they lie.
Oh.
I mean, I was a scientist with them, and I could tell you they taught me how to lie.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's amazing. I could tell you some stories.
Yeah. Kim Cohen and Aspen all worked for Eli Lilly for years, and she says the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a drug company.
It's a big pharmaceutical
biggies.
company.
Do you have a question?
Yes, it's regarding milk and lube. I'm almost on the diet. Next month it'll be 2 years.
Lube formula.
Lube formula. I'm determined to lose a little weight. I feel. I live with Ron, and he cracks up every time I say that because he likes me chubby.
So do I.
I don't want small breasts again. Come on.
He's dreamed of you all of his life, and now you want to change.
Yeah. Look at this happy guy over here.
I go to the lube to drink milk, and I remember you saying, sip the milk. I weigh myself every day. I'm still the same. the amount.
Your body doesn't want to let it go. No matter.
I feel very well, but the other thing is I need to drink something with the food to get it down, and I drink the Pellegrino. I know you said I shouldn't do that. What else am I going to drink? Keep drinking milk? Well, I'll gain more. I know.
Now, what you do is in between meals you eat eggs.
No, I have to drink something with my meal.
Milk or kefir.
Did you hear me say about the eggs?
In between your meals.
In between, I know. I'm fine in between.
No, in between you eat eggs to lose the weight.
But you say every 30 minutes.
30 to 45 minutes. You can do an egg.
But what am I going to drink while I'm eating my meal?
Milk, kefir.
Kefir is okay.
Yeah. Now, first part of that question was she cut out the lubes, and I don't think
cut out
that's
the lubes just
not
a
a
few
good
days
idea.
ago. And I feel fine on the milk.
That's fine.
Should I go back to the lube? I love the lube.
Yeah.
It's like getting
I know. Your body loves it, yeah.
But I thought I'd lose a few pounds, but it's like 3 days without the lube and still on the milk.
That's okay. It's summertime. As soon as it starts getting cold, then I go back to the lube.
What's the advantage of the lube versus milk for me on the diet? I have meat and fish.
Just look at it this way. When you have the milk, the fat will not make it to your skin and connective tissue. So for that time, your skin's going to start drying.
Oh, I don't want that. Okay.
So what you do is just take your moisturizing formula and you break it up into 4 parts.
I was taking it twice a day with each meal.
4 parts.
Okay.
That way you won't gain so much weight with it.
4 parts, okay.
Yeah. A quarter of it with each meat meal, a quarter of it in the afternoon, and a quarter at nighttime.
Okay.
And that'll spread it out. But if you want to lose weight, you just do those eggs in between.
I said to Cynthia before, look how skinny I was.
But you were not as happy as you are now.
No, I wasn't.
And you were very hyperactive.
Yes,
Now you're a love. Now you're a love ball.
Yeah.
You have a question?
I want you to comment on there's something on the internet about you and somebody that did your diet for the longest person doing the diet besides you. Guy, he said that he was the person that has been on the diet the longest besides.
Probably hasn't gone at all.
It's not true. I've got people who've been on the diet since 1978. He's only been on it since 1990.
Maybe he means one of your
4 or 5.
So what's his
No, those were patients.
Back then in
78, yeah. That's when I started.
Misinformation.
Yeah.
Sure he's not a politician.
Well, he was McEnroe's coach for 10 years, so you can imagine what coaches do.
I mean, it's all good. He was just, raising and giving you kudos. But my question to you how many clients do you have, and how long have they been on the diet, and how well do they fare? Do you think that?
Well, I've got one guy who's 62 years old, and other than his skin on his neck, he looks like he's probably 40 years old.
And how long was he on the diet?
He started in 79. 78. 78. Pardon? Yeah. No. I started eating raw meat in 76. But he started eating, the raw meat and everything raw.
You'll look younger if you stay on the diet.
And you don't get into accidents and eat poison mushrooms.
Yeah.
You look better than I do.
You look pretty good for being what you are.
Yes, absolutely.
So how about females? Do females fare worse because of the menopause and because of different genetics?
If they've had babies, like I said in the book, it takes them longer. If they've had babies, especially cesarean. For each baby you lose a woman will lose 7 years of herself to a baby. Unless she's eating raw foods. And then if she has cesarean, it takes about 3-4 years on top of that to repair that condition.
So I never had a baby. How long is it going to take me to get well?
You're asking for your condition. probably take about 80 more years.
If you're on a diet, 100%.
8 more years.
If you're on a
8
diet.
more years.
8, not
8 more years.
8.
8.
Hey, if you're here,
A few more
80
lifetimes.
years would be a good thing.
Almost
You'd be
there.
alive, right?
There you go.
Completely, totally.
No. I'm saying get out of your chemical sensitivity.
8. And why do you say 8 years? What is your case?
Just by seeing people who've had similar,
I've
having
already
similar
been on
patients to you that were female.
I've already been on it 4 years.
Pardon?
I've already been on it 4 years.
Yeah.
Solidly, how do you say that?
But I'm talking 8 years from now. If you stay on it solidly. Yeah, if you stay on it, say 95%.
He made that promise to me too, and I've been on it solid. He changes it every time. I just thought you'd feel better.
Well, I'm going to hold you to it.
Uh-oh.
Thank you.
I don't mind. Do you have a question?
Comment. I had a rat, and I was putting coconut cream on it, and that took care of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been eating about 12 eggs a day for probably about 2 months, and I noticed the mole on my face shrank.
Wow.
I think it might have been related to that. It's the only thing different.
Well, just remember that eggs, when you eat eggs, they digest in 16 to 23 minutes. They are already liquid. So it's very little digestion. That's why they move through the body. That's why you lose weight. Because your body can start using those eggs, that nutrients, the protein and the fats to repair and correct the body. Because there's very little digestion. You've absorbed those eggs when they're about first 3 inches into the small intestine. Completely. So that leaves the digestive tract not doing anything while you're eating all those eggs. Milk takes about 6 to 10 hours to digest. So the eggs will zip through, and then all of your body's efforts and energy can go into healing and cleansing. Pardon?
I eat it 2 at a time.
It's fine. You're a bigger guy. You just need more weight. You have to eat a loop formula with a meat meal to really gain weight in your kind of situation. Because you look like you have some athletic energy in there, so you'll exercise. Me, this is my exercise. I don't have to load on, the nutrients. I don't have to eat a loop formula every time I eat a meat meal to gain weight. I can just suck my milk all day. Do you have a question?
Yeah. I've been on this diet for a year, and I'm in the process of detoxing. I see that we break out throughout the body and head stone. But recently I had this problem because my blood sugar has increased ever since I had it.
That's good.
For
Fine.
460.
That's okay.
And I have one of the left artery blocked.
It had to have been blocked before?
No.
No.
So I couldn't figure out what.
Well, what you need to do is lower your butter intake and just have cream and lots of coconut cream to start cleaning your arteries. And you could put a little bit of pineapple with that coconut cream. Let's say have about 4 ounces of the hardest, greenest pineapple you can find. So it's pretty unripe. And then, pardon? You can do it every day for, I would say, about 2 weeks, and then cut it to every other day. And have about 3 ounces of coconut cream with that.
What happens
Pineapple.
if the pineapple is...
Pardon?
What's the difference when the pineapple is sweet compared to green?
Well, the sugar will cause, emotional reaction.
But the enzymes are the same as the green pineapple?
Enzymes and the acids that'll help dissolve the plaque.
I can tell I got a green one when I open it up. It's right.
Green and hard. If it's green and soft, we went ripe. It got ripe even though it was green.
In 7 days,
So it's got to be green and hard.
Unripe.
In 7 days, the pineapple turns to alcohol. So you should just throw it away.
Are you refrigerating it?
Yes.
And you're cutting it this way and putting it face down on a plate?
He wanted to throw it away, and I said,
Are you putting it face down on a plate?
Yes.
I cut the whole pineapple.
Oh, no.
oh,
You
No?
only need a little bit at a time.
No.
Just cut a slice
What you
off.
do is you get it's shaped like this, the pineapple. You cut round slices off, put it face down on a plate, put it in the refrigerator. And then the next time you just take a very narrow, like a 32nd of an inch slice, throw it away in case you pulled any lead out of the glaze on the plate, and then you take your slice again, and you keep doing that. That pineapple will last a couple of weeks.
You cut
the
from the top
refrigerator.
or bottom?
Pardon?
You cut from the top or bottom?
You cut away from the sprout, the opposite end.
The opposite
The
end.
bottom.
No, you don't leave the sprout on.
doesn't that,
The sprout will continue to grow.
So you cut from the bottom?
It'll take the nutrients, rip the nutrients right out of the pineapple.
I've heard like with avocados,
It's
if
the
they put the seed in, it stays fresh
Yeah,
for
that's
longer.
different. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Stems of the fuel.
Cut it from the bottom.
Cut it, cut that
From the bottom.
You just, yeah, you just
Twist it off.
Yeah.
Twist it.
I always did, and you said to cut it from the bottom.
Yeah, it's you like something.
You were the one who was cutting it from the top. You're absolutely lying. Did you actually cut it from the
Excuse me, if you talk, I can't hear. Go
Do I
ahead.
still continue with the regular, like the leaves and fish?
Absolutely, yeah.
Just add these things.
Correct. And just lower your butter intake. You're welcome. With a black T-shirt. Your question? No?
I heard you say, you made a funny face when the word Pellegrino came up.
Oh, it had nothing to do with Pellegrino. I drink Pellegrino.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
No. In fact, I'll be drinking more of it because Gerolsteiner has gone to plastic bottles
What?
God.
this week.
What happened to Gerald Steiner? Their prices have gone up. The whole energy of that about a year ago felt no good.
Yeah, well, that's what's happened to
He
them.
wants to like
what's the
Pellegrino.
good
They're greedy.
What's the good mineral water to take then?
I'm taking San Faustino, Pellegrino, San Pellegrino, Romlusa, Apollinaris. What are some of the others?
So when do you drink it? Like I drink it with my meal because I'm not to do it.
Shouldn't drink it with a meal.
Never? Anybody?
No one should drink water with a meal. Unless you're eating cooked food, like rice or something like that, bread.
Why not?
Pardon?
What is the downside of this? I just always drank water with my food.
Because the water goes into the food and the hydrochloric acid does not, and the bacteria does not. So you stop digesting the food.
You end up putrefying, and that's why people...
You won't putrefy it, you'll just prevent proper digestion.
It weakens. It just dilutes the digestive juice. But it's a cultural thing. Americans either have soda with their food or any kind of liquid with food.
Well, all the Asians do because they eat so much rice. You know, if the rice will absorb all of their digestive juices, and then they won't digest anything else that they eat. So they have to dilute and saturate their rice in their stomachs so they can utilize their digestive juices. But on this diet, it's just the opposite.
How much water are you drinking? Now you're drinking water?
I drink about, during the summertime, I'm drinking about a half a cup a day, if that. Up until this week, I was drinking about a cup a week.
What does the excess water do to the system if you have too much water?
Your body dries out with water. There's no mineral content with it that has vitamins, enzymes, proteins, fats with it. And when a cell opens to eat, it expects a whole smorgasbord of nutrients. And when you're drinking water, you have just earth, you have rock
Even if you put lemon in it or anything like that in it?
Lemon can even make it worse. It can demineralize your system more than the plain water can. It can cause demineralization as much as distilled water would.
So when do you drink the Pellegrino, et cetera, et cetera?
When I know that the food's not in my stomach or duodenum.
Okay, got it.
When's that?
It's usually sometime in the afternoon.
Duodenum. Duodenum.
And I'll just take, 2 swigs at a time.
And what benefit is that?
About an ounce.
What benefit is that?
Well, certain bodies, in fact everybody, needs a little bit of a solvent. So it helps solvent production in the body when it's a small amount.
So if you feel like you're dehydrated and you get kidney pain right back here, they always say drink more water?
How much of your body is water?
Most of it.
Okay.
I retain water like crazy.
Probably
I can do a gallon a
70% of your body is water. Yeah. Why the fuck do you need water?
Thank you.
Okay?
I've been trying to get this into my head for years. I know.
Just think about it. The more water you get, the less you're assimilating and the more you're holding.
Hey, I grew up
That's the problem.
They had bottling fluid,
What does exercise do to, how do you mitigate that against exercise? How exercise on
Well, I have my athletes. I have a lot of tennis players on the diet. Professional tennis players. And I give them a formula of 2 cups of cucumber juice, 1 cup of pureed tomato, teaspoon of vinegar, 3 to 4 tablespoons of honey, 3 tablespoons of coconut cream, 2 tablespoons of dairy cream. And that's a mixture, and they will drink that, sip a little at a time, and let me tell you, powerful players.
I tried that this month, but I was gulping it, so.
You don't gulp it, you sip it.
Just like the water.
Yep, just like the water.
So it's a fueling, it's a solvent.
Everything's in it.
Did you write that down?
I did.
I got a
No,
copy down.
something I came up with recently, because I started getting more athletes, and I had to come up with a formula for them. Do you have a question? Yeah, 2 cups of cucumber, 1 cup of tomato puree, 2 to 4 tablespoons of honey, 3 to 4 tablespoons of coconut cream, 2 to 3 tablespoons of dairy cream, teaspoon of vinegar. And you could also put, for some of the people who are overweight, and most of my tennis players are overweight. I've got one girl from Canada. She's 6 foot tall and weighs about 210 pounds. And yeah, I mean, can you imagine a big girl like that is all over that court like you wouldn't believe? In 1 year, she's become a champion. Just started playing 2 years ago. And she's 31 years old. And I've got a 16-year-old who's also very stocky and big, and she's number 2.
You're not drinking water?
No.
Did
They have that formula.
Did you say to add something to that formula for those who want
Lemon. About maybe a tablespoon and a half of lemon juice.
Is there a shelf life on that?
Usually within a day. You should eat it in a day.
This is a
That's a quart, and that's only a quart of liquid, and they'll drink that in a day.
That's a quencher.
Yes. Without dehydrating the body.
That sounds delicious.
Water dehydrates the body. If you gulp that formula, even that formula will cause dehydration because you're putting too many fluids too fast into the body. So it's going to wash some things out.
When you eat clay, what do you drink it with?
I put it in vegetable juice. Always. And it's always moist first.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Is melon juice still okay then?
Pardon?
Melon juice is better than water.
No, well, if you have melon rind juice, it's fine, but melon is usually not good. It's very high concentrated, unless you're talking about melon puree. Melon puree is all right as long as you cut out the heart and get rid of the sweet part, especially in watermelon.
You have the rind.
Pardon?
You have the rind.
The rind is like cucumber. It's incredible. The cucumber is a melon. And there are lots of female hormones in it. So when it retains the water, you've got a lot of collagen that go along with it. Collagen creators, precursors. Of course, the pharmaceutical doesn't want you to know that because they want you to buy and inject collagen from the pharmaceutical industry. But cucumbers and melons are very high in female hormone precursors. And the banana is a melon also. The bananas are the melon family. And on the peel, the inside, you scrape that off. Very concentrated in those female hormones.
You said in your book something about Mexican yam. What's the Mexican yam?
They're poisonous, but that's for some people use it for female cancers to reverse them. So I was just telling them how to use it.
It's not like the sweet potato thing.
No. It's a different thing.
What is it? A root vegetable?
Yeah, it's a yam. It's a yam. It's just a poisonous yam.
So the cucumber, when you reduce the whole thing, with the cucumber still on?
No, you peel it.
Why?
Always peel your cucumber.
Why do you peel the cucumber?
Don't trust anything. The FDA lets that.
No, we get it from the farmer's market.
Doesn't make any difference. You can never try. If that farmer says, "I grew these," they are not waxed. We don't spray anything on them. Then fine.
We do it all the time. But what did you use? Bio dust or
BioClean?
No, just the rock.
You use crushed rock dust on, they use on the ground to get all the minerals, the 85.
Well, that's what the earth. Plants eat rock. That's their diet. So that's fine. But rinse them off or wipe them off. You don't want the rock dust on there.
That cucumber formula is hot or cold? Room temperature or cold?
Either way.
Either way. Can you make ice cubes out of anything? I like it pure and ice.
Yeah, if you're going to make it out of that formula I just gave you.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
Yeah. Or you could do it out of pureed melon.
Pureed melon.
Yeah, but just remember, you're going to separate the water from some of those nutrients, so some of that water is going to be water once you freeze it.
I don't understand. What's the point?
The water, all of the H2O is gathered and combined in other molecules, mineral molecules like potassium and sodium, with the vitamin A and all the other fats that are in those foods. The protein molecules, the fat molecules, everything. And when you freeze it, separate it. So it's not a complete diet for the cells.
What if I freeze it quickly? Liquid nitrogen.
Once it defrosts, it's separated.
I'm a pharmaceutical engineer. I know how to freeze things.
But once it's defrosted, it's separated.
So membranes break down as soon as they
killed everything.
No, you and that's
yeah, right.
Enzymes get killed in freezing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Different times.
When you use the rind, the melon rind, you peel the very outside part off, and just use the greenish.
I didn't have a cucumber part, so when I make my juice, I can fill a cucumber.
Fill the cucumber. Unless you know the grower.
So if I'm just buying Kimbo's or something.
Absolutely, I always feel.
Just going back to that water, I know that you don't exercise much, so I just want to know that somebody who's exercising a lot and sweating, say, in a very hot weather in Florida or whatever, and you were sweating a couple of cups of water at a time, We're not sweating.
I have a martial artist who has the Blue Dragon martial arts school in Bergenfield, New Jersey, Ray Ollis. He does not drink water at all. He is sweating. He does high martial arts activity, and he doesn't drink water anymore. He drinks that formula that I gave him, the cucumber and tomato, and he drinks milk. He does not drink water, and you don't know anybody more powerful than this guy and that sweats as much as this guy. He teaches 20 classes a day.
So if the body's 70% water and you're not drinking water, where's the water coming from?
Milk is 82% water.
Okay,
Meat
so
is 55%
so
water.
from all the foods, the body extracts the necessary water.
Yeah, when you cook it, absolutely. When you cook foods, then the water separates. So then you can't metabolize it from cooked foods. But in raw foods, every H2O molecule is bound and in harmony with other nutrients.
What about, can you reference that for, it seems like I get concentrated on the diet, and I know you said the chia seeds, but they don't seem to work. So the less
Are you having the chia seeds with a lubrication form? Moisture.
I tried that. It does not work for me.
And you germinated the seeds first.
Correct.
How many days did you do it?
It was a long time ago. I don't remember, but I remember doing it. And I remember
Sometimes
they got a
it'll take
little
up to
bit of-
10 days.
But you can't wait that long when you're concentrated.
No, but when you have that problem, you take 3 tablespoons of butter, 3 tablespoons of cream, 3 tablespoons of coconut cream, 1/4 teaspoon of honey. You put that in a 4-ounce jelly jar, immerse it with a lid on it. You put it in a bowl of hot water, not hot enough to burn your hand. Leave it for 5 minutes. Shake it. Get an enema bulb syringe right before you go to sleep. Stick it up your butt and go to sleep and leave it there. What that will do is it'll the sigmoid colon is where all constipation happens 99% of the time, unless you've got a bowel obstruction or cancer. It happens there. The body is taking every bit of those finitely digested molecules from the E. coli at that point, because that's the only place that the brain and nervous system can get the fine quality of molecules of fat and protein that are small enough. So it'll just absorb all the fluids there. So if you put that mixture in there, it will coat the sigmoid colon, will draw in and absorb a lot of that fat. Then the E. coli will work on that. And then the rest goes up into the bowel, higher up in, and feeds the E. coli there. So that lasts for 3 to 5 days. So you do it once every 3 to 5 days, until your bowel gets in better condition. And the only way you can really get it in better condition is either to get a tapeworm or trichinosis.
That's what appeals to your medical side.
Aajonus, can you just give that formula again, please?
I can give it to you.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's see. Okay, do you have a question?
Yeah, you say that you get 8% detoxing, and how often does it come and go?
It all depends upon the person. I saw a vegetarian who'd been a 32-year vegetarian, lived on soy chips, some of the worst stuff in the world, and he was so skinny, and I thought for sure he was going to go into a heavy detox. It took him 2.5 years to get into a detox. After he went from he's 6'3", 147 pounds, and he went up to 210 before he had his first detox 2.5 years later. You never know. And some people are very healthy looking and they'll go into a detox right away. It has nothing to do with the diet. It's your body deciding this is the time. And a lot of people would go into the same detoxes no matter what diet they were on, because the body has collected toxins in a particular area that it needs to get rid of. Usually the diet will mitigate the symptom and you'll have less pain. And it will be a shorter detoxification period, depending upon what poisons are in the body. That's also a detoxification. You've got poisons in the joints. A lot of the arthritis and rheumatism of today is coming from Crohn's disease. The intestinal walls start secreting very thin mucus. Then the acids start breaking down and making the intestinal walls thinner. And then when you eat, it splits the gut, and then you have leaky gut. Then the foods go to the joints, and the joints start producing acids to break down those foods, and then it starts eating away the cartilage. So a lot of that arthritis and rheumatism is produced because of gut leakage, leaky gut syndrome. So, and this, usually somebody as thin as you is probably the reason you have arthritis and rheumatism. Unless you got a lot of vaccines at one time, you went overseas and got, you know, so it's not likely the vaccines did it to you.
Well, I just watch my weight.
Don't watch it. Don't watch it.
What do you do for those symptoms of
leaky gut? You have to live on eggs and a little bit of milk. Never have more than half a cup of milk at a time, and eggs all day long, so that your intestines can heal.
Yeah, otherwise you get a lot of pain.
Yep.
A lot of pain.
I've had some people, you know, who had both Crohn's and chemical sensitivity. At the same time, I've had them on mainly eggs for up to 2 years. Yeah, but you're different. You have a lot of weight on you. I'm talking about people who are skinny and have Crohn's and have more and have chemical sensitivity.
36 eggs a day.
Really? And you ate them?
Yeah. It hurt my liver sometimes. And since we're on Crohn's, and I have a really severe case of Crohn's, and really bad arthritis in certain places with it, I just had my parasites came back. So I used me as an example. He said not to worry because I had both my Giardia and my trichomoniasis come back. He said I didn't pick it up, and so I thought maybe you'd share with them, especially now that we have another Crohn's patient. Since he's got like Crohn's like I do, you share with everybody the importance of that parasite.
Go ahead. But you have to be on a good diet to make sure that your body's repairing. Because parasites eat very quickly. They eat 100 times their weight in 24 hours. They reduce the amount of like if it's brain cells that they're eating, or no matter what tissue they're eating, they reduce that waste product down to 1 to 5%. So that's like you eating 100 pounds of food a day, and or 100 times your weight in 24-hour period. So you can imagine how much, and only having 1 to 5 pounds of fecal matter. So just think, you've got 100 times the amount of toxicity to remove. Then after the parasites eat it, you've got a very small amount to deal with. They work very quickly. So you better be on a good diet to make sure that you're reproducing cells quickly to fill in and repair yourself. If not, you're going to have, brain farts. You're going to have all kinds of problems. You're going to have memory loss, temporary memory loss, and you're going to have, Alzheimer's, any kind of reaction like that until your brain repairs. When bacteria helps, when they eat the cells, they can eat about 50 times their weight in a day. It's about a third that of the speed of a parasite reaction, plus the fecal matter is just slightly a little bit more. When your body uses virus to clean, it's a solvent. It is not alive. It is a protein body that is a solvent to disassemble. There's no nucleus and there's no respiratory system. There's no eating system in virus. So when somebody says, any doctor who says that viruses are alive, that doctor should be never even think about being a doctor, because he doesn't have a clue about chemistry. So viruses are not alive. They are solvents, just like we'll have a chemical solvent to rip, let's say, oil off of concrete. They are solvents, and there are over 300,000 varieties of viruses in each body. Each cell has specific ones to decompose particular tissue, specific tissue, because if it goes there and dissolves everything, there will be no cohesiveness and no organization to your body. So the virus is very specific. However, it's the worst detoxification you can endure, because it doesn't reduce the toxicity to a small amount like the virus, like the bacteria, the parasites, and fungus, but it expands it. It has to dilute it. So you have this massive amount of fluid that has to be dealt with and detoxified. That's why spinal meningitis or cerebral meningitis is so bad, because the swelling causes paralysis. Does that answer your question?
Well, we think he's got rid of it. There's what, lung juice and oxygen.
And what?
Oxygen.
Well, lime juice will definitely destroy the parasites, so will wormwood. The combination is definitely a lethal combination for them. That just means you'll have to, deal with them later or use a different method of brain cleansing. But there's something in your brain that must have dissolved a lot of tissue, like vaccines. Were you in the military at all? Oh, God, there you go.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh,
I find that most people who are in the military have the brain flu from all those vaccines.
Brain what?
Brain flu. Brain parasites. Even the nurses, who go in there, they get the same vaccines. The female nurses, they get the brain flukes too, quicker than anybody else. Yeah.
Are you familiar with the scale prevention?
No. That. Yeah.
But I don't know what I'm doing.
She was drinking water with her meal.
I listen to what Aajonus says. I do whatever he tells me.
So it wasn't for a esophageal issue or
Oh, no, I'm just...
Yes, it is. Yeah, she does.
She doesn't like some of the food, so she likes to wash it down.
Okay, the reason I'm on the diet, just real quick, is because I have an acid reflux. 2 years ago, I couldn't digest cooked food, and I was a vegetarian for 30 years before that. But I went to Aajonus and I feel fabulous on this side. I don't like being this chubby, but...
But you can laugh about it.
Okay? Do you have a question, Scott? Oh, you're wearing a baseball hat. I'm sorry, with a sheriff one.
It helps the sheriff. In the process, because this young lady's got Crohn's, she's the first one I met on the you've had other patients, but it's the first one I met. When I broke out, if you remember when I called you about 5-6 weeks ago, I started having growth all over my scalp, my lymph nodes, my neck, and my head.
You had what?
I had all those growths.
Okay.
I mean, literally, I had lymph nodes coming through my mastoid process. Literally, there was a 2-inch lymph node sticking out the side of my head.
That isn't a growth, that's just swelling.
It was large. Anyway, yeah. At the time, I didn't know what it was because it was hard as rock. And you said just use the hot packs because that was part of the parasites that had all decided to come back right then. I guess it was good cleansing.
Yeah.
And it was the most painful thing I had through my sinuses. I mean, it was coming, this is sinus, that's the sinus. And all my entire intestinal tract was on fire along with all my joints because the mucous membranes are synovial fluid is real so much. And I just wanted you to share that with people about what to do if that should ever occur with lymph nodes and...
You tell them.
Oh, okay.
I want to see how much you retain. Yes, but I want to see how well
I remembered it? Okay.
No, how well I told you.
Oh, now there's a difference there from what you told me to what I remember. I've never had lymph nodes this swollen, and when we first started working, you told me I had the beginnings of lymphoma anyway, so all my lymph nodes are completely filled, not only with the bacteria, the parasites, the fungus, but I had heavy metals on this side of my head, from the tip of my head down to my feet. In this particular case, I don't have any pain medication of any kind. I don't even take oregano oil anymore, and I just use the cheese and everything. Which they use hot packs, and the hot packs were drawing out a lot of the swelling. You told me it could take anywhere from 2 weeks.
It melts the hardened lymphatic
and they
stuff.
were hard. I mean, I thought there was bone growing out on the side of my head.
Well, that's what vegetable oils do in the human body. They solidify and crystallize.
And
that's what blocks the lymphatic system.
My ear was being pushed out. That's how large it was. I couldn't wear my glasses. And basically, I lived with a hot pack behind my neck and head. You had me doing it a couple different ways on the side where it didn't touch. And the one thing you'll learn from Aajonus is you never really put anything hot directly on an area that's damaged. You put it near, around, side. You cover it up. You make a, what do you call it? Tint of it. Because the direct heat can actually cause a decrease or increase in the blood flow in the wrong way. That's the problem where it's blocking. So in this particular case, though, I was hurting. And in my case, pain is taken away from these lymph node swellings with these hot packs for the most part. Now, you did put me on that lime, lemon juice, honey, coconut cream mixture with kiwi and Pellegrino water in 3-day segments, and I had to take at least 2 days off, and then I could go back on it again. And it did knock it down for a large part, but I had no idea what the heck was coming out of my mastoid. And then it spread up to the top of my head and down to my thing. Now I'm breaking out with pimples everywhere along my spine. And at first, the doctors, the MDs, because I still get my blood test work done, thought I had spinal meningitis. That's when I called you. I said, I don't know what the heck is going on. I've never had a headache this bad before in 12 years of Crohn's disease. And you said, no, it's just detoxification. And at the same time I do these hot packs, I was hallucinating, which was all of the heavy metals and chemicals. And I've had a couple brain injuries. And you had told me that it was the medicines that they had given me years ago coming out. I had some really weird highs going through this, but it was really hard to focus. I couldn't see out of my right eye for 4.5 weeks. And it was only just the last couple of weeks I started to actually have it. But the pain is there, and it's the mucous membranes are clearing with these toxic chemicals. And I've had 4 years on and off where I can't breathe through my nose, and it's just garbage. Whatever's happening here is the gut. Whatever's happening in the gut is in my left shoulder. And his example of Crohn's disease is there are more people with irritable bowel and Crohn's disease than you realize. When you have the leaky gut syndrome, I had torn ripped shoulders, left ankle, and all these calcifications in here, and that it isn't calcified, it heals on its own. And in that regard with the leaky gut, when I eat 20 to 24 eggs a day,
the pain stops in my left shoulder. That's my triggering mechanism to know that I'm doing enough of it and I'm feeling it. But if I take too much of the parasite killing formula, then I get sick in an opposite direction. I have detoxification like you wouldn't believe.
Mineralized.
Yeah, and my bones hurt worse. And I have literally felt things go crunch, crunch, and I felt things tear. So it's a balancing act. Yeah. On this diet, I've learned in the last 4 years, do exactly what he tells you, do it exactly for as long as he tells you, and if you don't get off the phone and haven't asked him in 10 minutes very quickly the exact things, you're going to pay for it because you're going to call him in 2 weeks and say, but I forgot to ask this. And you'll learn the hard way, but unfortunately, it's the truth. Hot packs are your best friend when it comes to pain. You gave the young lady the formula for a different thing for pain, for banana and
honey
and
butter.
And the butter. But you've also given me another pain formula, and for arteries, you gave me a mixture of half a banana, half an orange, along with coconut cream. And because my blood pressure, I've got so much stiff arteries in my brain. And
you have more weight than she does.
Yeah, but I didn't when it first began. Yeah. And you will find that what formula works for you today may not work for you a month from now or a year from now, and you'll still call them because there'll be another way to get around the same symptoms. The butter honey mixture, the bread every now and then I've had to take, but that doesn't work as well anymore with a lot of butter. And sometimes now, because of my liver damage, I can't take a lot of butter. So some of the older methods I was working on 4 years ago have to be modified for my diet now. Now, he's been on it for 25 years.
How long have you been on it?
I've only been on 4 years this month. And I met him actually the day of the fires in her old house when we couldn't breathe outside. Remember that? 4 years ago. So one thing for the new folks, if it wasn't for her, I couldn't always get a hold of him. I didn't even have enough money to pay him sometimes. So I had to call her because she works as my dentist, so I trade her something. And the fact is that there was more information coming out of his head that these events are really good because you're going to find that sometimes he's going to tell you one recipe because he knows your diet. He knows what your iridology is. And he's going to tell you one thing because it works for you. But he's going to tell her one thing and it may not work for you, and he's going to have a different formula for you. Go back to the source of where it is. Go back to the book. And if all else fails,
call me.
Yeah, call him. And he will call you from Thailand. I mean, he did.
Is the hot pack like a water bottle?
Yeah, hot water bottle. I have 2 hot
Never
water
use
bottles.
a heating pad because the heating pad is an EMF field.
Yeah,
electromagnetic. And you just put a little sleeve on it too.
I put covers on it, put it next to the thing, I put it around the thing. But all I know is that between my sinuses and these big lymph nodes, you said it lasted up to 5 months. Thank goodness it didn't. They hurt like crazy, and I had a headache. I thought somebody had clobbered me in the head, but of course somebody did clobber me in the head. I mean, I had a car accident and a hockey stick up the side of my head. And whatever he said, he's had a lot of accidents, so he's really good for me because I've had a lot of accidents. But for him, you don't miss these functions. I only go to him once a year now, but I call you 4 times a year. And if all else fails, I email you. Just listen to what he says.
What do you take for liver damage?
I've taken a lot of things, but butter and more butter. And over the years, you've given me a number of different things.
Liver is good.
Yeah. And the raw liver. Raw liver was a big thing to regenerate, but the biggest thing for me was time. Because sometimes my mixtures today are different than 4 years ago. And you also told me that I would get to a point, and I've started to, where I would know instinctively what I needed for that day. And it may be exactly what you said, and it turned out some of these things were exactly what you were going to tell me later, and other things were things that would come up were like a mixture of different things. Do stay on the diet. I know this is hard for some of you, but when somebody told me I had cancer and was going to die, I kind of changed everything. Stick on it. Live on it. It's difficult for your lifestyle if you got a boyfriend. I don't have a girlfriend. Okay, my hormones have kicked in so hard that I'm just, pleading that somebody will show up and help me. But this diet is so
tremendous. I can't take a vitamin. I can't take a supplement. I can't take a pain pill. I can't take anything like I used to because I live, eat, sleep, and breathe. And the only time I can't get a hold of her is when she's traveling with Michael. So if I can't get a hint, I'll call him in Washington. I only rarely ever call him.
Pain's always a great motive too.
Pain is a wonderful motivator, but I don't like it anymore. And the thing I've known is from him and from your experiences and through my own, most of the time is short-lived until I've made a mistake. And I know the differences because the pain just won't go away for a while. But still, even with that, the pain I have is a lot better than what I was where I couldn't even walk up her stairs. I was freaked out when I saw her stairs. And I said, oh my gosh, I have to walk up the stairs to get to you. It took me 20 minutes to get up to where you sit. So the best thing I can tell you is my experiences have been a wonderful teacher, and of course it's his experiences I'm learning from. He's a genius. He'll never admit it. The thing is, he's had a lot of accidents. I think he could stop on that.
I think so too.
Yeah. And where there's a will, there's a way, because if it ain't this way, he's using his money for the first time like a doctor should use his money. And that is to help other people. And he's way beyond doing that. So if he asks you to send something out, send it out. I work with 2,900 doctors, and most of them are pain in the butt. All right? I do it because I have a big guy telling me. But when it comes to him, if he's telling you, he knows the law and he plays the rules better than they do. Listen to him. You can bitch, moan, and complain all you want, but he's been through it all.
You need a job, Scott?
One thing there.
I want to call your attention to the time.
You very quickly said for detoxing with the killing the parasite formula was lime.
Oh, he puts me on 5 tablespoons of lime juice, 1.5 tablespoons of lemon juice, 6 tablespoons of honey, 1 entire peeled kiwi, 4 ounces of coconut cream, and 3 ounces of regular cream. And let me tell you, it works. It took down that nodule when I thought it was bone coming out of the side of my head. And it was the lymph node, and it took it down in about 2 weeks. And you told me it could stay there for 5 months. I just know that my whole face started to feel like it was.
Did you also put Pellegrini in there?
Yeah, oh yes, that's right. You gave me 2 ounces of San Pellegrino, or in my case,
Gerolsteiner,
whatever it was, I could get it today. Because it was Perrier was on sale 2 for 1.
So can those nodules occur anywhere in your body?
Absolutely
I get them right at the bottom of my feet.
Absolutely anywhere.
And you're right, they go away in a couple of days. So this formula would help that quicker. Because I know about the heat that you have.
Are you recommending that people do cases? Is this the same for like the fungus in my toe? Is that
well, getting to the toes you can help it, but you just have to make sure you're not going to eat so much as you're going to demineralize.
And I've done that too. I mean, I went a little too far.
Yeah.
And then it's difficult to get rid of pain. Pain will increase.
Yeah, it got worse, and I went, oh, shoot.
Oh, if you demineralize, your pain increases.
Oh, yeah.
What happens by what is demineralization? All the minerals get pulled out?
Yeah, the minerals are being pulled out. The nervous system is not getting a good mineral.
Excreted out.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Getting excreted out.
Yeah, like water
That's
does.
the lemon and lime?
And that's if you take too much lemon or
And
lime.
No, he told me it was 3 days on, and you make sure you're at least 2 days off.
Yeah, at least 2 days.
And what about grapefruit? Would that also demineralize?
Any kind of fruit will demineralize.
Oh, really?
Especially a citrus.
3 days on, 2 days.
Yeah, and I went a couple of times too far. And
Well, that's because he has the weight. I would never recommend that cycle for you.
Yeah. Now, when
for you, I'd give you 2 days in a row, 5 days off.
2 days.
Because you don't have enough fat on you.
2 days in a row, 5 days off.
And during this process for the last month, I lost half the weight I had gained, I told him.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in the toilet.
This is for getting rid of parasites?
Well, I just had a rebirthing of parasites that had originally triggered may have been one of the triggering mechanisms for my Crohn's.
Okay, we got to move on
you
now.
got 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
What's Crohn's disease?
I just said.
Oh.
I said it's a thinning of the mucus, thinning of the intestinal walls. Then when you eat food, the intestines split, the food goes into your gut, and you have leaky gut syndrome. And then it goes to the joints to be digested. And it starts digesting your joints along with the food. Do you have a question?
One more question for myself, and then one to tell about Mark McAfee and the organic package, just to know what the last 2 bits of that. The one thing is about, we used to put egg white in our eye for the healthy health in the eye. I heard recently you said egg yolk instead of egg white.
I never said egg yolk.
Someone told me that you told him egg yolk. Very good.
Well, I said that the person could put egg yolk and egg white together, whip them together, and put them in the eye.
Okay.
I said, but you're going to be cloudy, for a while, maybe for a few hours. So do it at night before you go to bed. But other people, I've got this fellow who has eternal conjunctivitis. I have him putting lime and coconut cream in his eye. In his eye. It stings like hell, but it certainly takes care of the conjunctivitis.
And the thing with Mark McAfee and the organic pastures. Organic pastures is the one place that we can get organic products, supposedly organic products in California. So I just wanted to know that's the last.
Well, he's gone back to organic again. He got certification. That doesn't mean he's honest, But at least he went back to organic again. It's the latest thing. Read it in the paper, and he showed his certificate, and they validated he had the certificate. So he's getting too popular, and he's got Sally Fallon behind it, and he can't embarrass her. So he has to toe the line.
Last week was incredible.
Pardon?
His milk last week was incredible. It was almost like cream.
Oh, yeah?
I've never seen it like that before.
Good.
I went to some of his lectures up in Orange County, and he is pretty much exact.
Oh, good.
And he said that he would become a sponsor for the Healing Circle, our doctors. If he does that, we've been offered a 30% discount price for anybody that is a member. So that's what he's made.
Tell him he needs to repay me, Martin Sheen,
I'd be
all
more
the
than
people
happy
who funded him to get started, and he hasn't paid us back.
Well, the one way that we can do that is help you, because I was the one that called him and told him what you were doing, and he said, "Thank you for being a great brother." I said, "Now talk to him, call him on the phone, because I know what you've told us."
Oh, he right. I'll get it to you. I'll get it to you.
Yeah.
He always says that. It's been 5 years.
Well, worst comes to worst, we go to Amos Miller anyway.
Right. Okay, do you have a question?
Somebody who has type 1 diabetes and has been taking insulin for 5 or 6 years, what are the chances that they might be able to see it?
99.9%. I've had women and men who have been taking insulin for 32 and 36 years go down to 8 units a day within a year, and off of it within a year and a half. Diagnosed, one girl was diagnosed at 6 years old, another diagnosed at 8 years old. Few men diagnosed in their early, 8 to 12. I was diagnosed at 15 and a half with type 1 diabetes, and I haven't taken insulin since I was 20 years old. 21.
All aspects of the diet feel it, or just some?
Mainly the milk.
Oh, the milk.
Yeah, mainly the milk. Yeah, Hippocrates, Mayo Clinic used to use an all raw milk diet to reverse diabetes and emphysema and a few other diseases.
How long did it?
Pardon?
But they forgot.
Pharmaceutical industry stopped giving them money, and they got greedy. They wanted more and more money. So all that testing stopped in the 50s. They were a holdout, though. They went through because almost all of the other ones stopped at 1947, the year I was born. They said, "Oh, Aajonus is coming. We got really bad shit, so this guy can really be fixed." So they did. The county of Los Angeles put them out of business. kept making the restrictions so hard for raw milk to pass inspection. And then that's when I sued them. I went to the Board of Supervisors and said, "You've got a problem here." They have, without probable cause, no injuries, no harm, no illnesses, they made the restrictions unruly and no justification. If they're going to do that, they should have done the pasteurized did. So I wrote the milk report, gave it to the Board of Supervisors. Well, I did, but then they didn't read it. And I had 2 ex-senators, one from federal Senate in California, one from the state Senate, hand deliver it to them and say, "You better read this, it's going to cost the county a lot of money." And they read it, and that was it. We got a raw milk. But Altadena had been bankrupt by that time. Not Altadena, Stuvie brand. And then Altadena, they sold it to Dean Foods. Altadena, a big conglomerate, and they won't package the raw milk in it. So that eliminated that. So then I financed a lot of my clients. Financed Mark McAfee, to get big and grow as a dairy, as a raw dairy farmer. And he went from making, a couple thousand, like $60,000, $80,000 a year to making $6 million. And he can't pay me, and he can't pay, all these people who are going.
Reminds him he just bought a plane for $500,000.
I tell them this stuff. He says, "Yeah, but the bigger I get, the more money we need." I said, "Yeah, but I need to be working my own money."
Well, I will do my political end. Thank you, because I couldn't be here for that.
Okay, do you have a question?
Mine today is just about energy and wanting to exercise, done all the activity ranges. So before, when I asked you, you said if I had a spare hour or half hour in a day, should I sleep or should I try to go walk or run or something? And I love to work out, but I still feel like I'm sitting. So am I still at that point where, when do I know that it's okay that I start exercising
right away?
And I'm just dying. It makes almost make me sick for the next couple of days. Yeah. So it's still better for me to rest.
Well, it's best for you to do busy work. You don't have to do a heavy exercise. You just need to be busy. Also, singing 20 minutes is worth an hour on a treadmill. Singing is the most. Singing is the hardest exercise. It takes even more than sex.
What?
Sex is the second most strenuous exercise.
So you can do both.
Yes.
There
you go.
Way to go, Thea. Yeah. She teaches some really good stuff. The contra queen over here. We got a whole new world coming up now.
I just don't need to worry about resting. Before you were saying sleep.
Well, still sleep and rest, but you also need to do some kind of activity.
I thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
What's your name?
I'm Scott. I run the healing circle.
Pardon? Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Scott, you from Boston?
No, I'm from Patterson, New Jersey.
You and I had a conversation. I was from Boston.
Yeah, no, I lived
Stephen
in
Lawrence.
Boston for a while.
Right.
52 colleges. We help directly. He's helped me. I help him directly. But we have 2,900 members in 50 states and 36 countries.
Yeah.
So
Stephen Lawrence referred me to.
Yeah.
We had a conversation a while back.
And thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Scott.
Hey, 4 years ago, I didn't expect to be here. I'm glad. Glad I did.
Glad you're here.
So the 4 people that want to do the next
Okay.
session, and Joe, you're first?
What's up? If you have a person come up to you that's terminal cancer, it's not a good idea to tell them. Is there?
I just tell, if I were you, you give them the book.
Okay.
Give them the book.
But really, when they're terminal, it's too late.
I was terminal.
Oh, yeah.
Bunch
of BS. A lot of terminal people.
Really?
Yeah. Probably a third of my clients were terminal.
Should we bring some of these people to your thing on next month?
I have somebody that would want to read your book.
You can.
She's got all kinds of cancer. Ron says, don't waste anybody's time.
could probably get
There's always a chance. Look at Alonzo had 63 tumors in her body.
Okay, so if she reads your book
And she wants.
to come.
Yeah, she wants to.
Thanks for everything. You're wonderful.
She's your best advocate. I tell you, she does
I
that
tell
diet.
everybody
She
that
measures
too.
everything.
Good.
So it sounds like that you do the lose.
I'm back on eggs.
You do eggs to lose some weight if you want to lose weight. You look great.
Oh, thanks.
Five.
Pardon?
Thanks for everything. Be well.
Because they're your appointment, I should be back at 7.
Did you take your eat?
No, 45 minutes. 7:15. Hi, Barbara.